we have a peak seeker community that is full of people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, and even older. A lot of women and men who are just like, what about
How
us?
do we get there?
Dating in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
For us, it's also important to touch on dating with intentionality.
I'm paying attention that, we don't like it when we have to rush to a place and then we have to get settled down. We're in the environment.
Yeah.
Maybe it might be better if we wake up a little earlier, take our time here so that we can take our time when we get there. Because guess what? The train ride there is always going to be 1 hour.
Come on, man.
We're not going to change it.
We're never going to change it.
We're not going to change it.
Welcome to
Marriage Pinnacles, Chats from the Peak,
Where God's Favorites Link Up.
My name is Dr. Laura.
And I'm Mimi.
And today, we are well into season 2. This might be the first, second, third, or fourth episode. We don't know just yet. But we have a very special guest here with us. And I'm just so happy because we're going to get into a really, really good conversation. Can you guys please introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone, it's your girl Asa. If you're not following me on Instagram, I'm a beauty, lifestyle, faith creator. I'm a strategist and I'm also a speaker. I host a lot of events, host a lot of brunches, and garner a lot of communities to come together to be their best selves. And yeah, I used to live in LA, but now I'm a Brooklyn girlie. Okay?
Wow,
West Coast girl.
East Coast.
BK,
Come
baby.
on.
I'm originally a Jersey girl though.
Okay, so you back home.
Back home, but not too much because I still live in the West Coast. But yeah, that's pretty much, most importantly though, beyond all of that, I am a daughter of Christ. So
Come on, absolutely.
that's who I am. And
Yes.
I have my boyfriend and
Ooh, my
my
man.
future hubby here with
Yes,
Right.
please
Sure.
introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is DP Jolly. I am a photographer, producer, and an Instagram boyfriend.
Oh, yes, you better know your title.
And amongst other things from photography, I also run a production company called 313,
Love it.
and also founded a casual wear called God Bless the Creative, which
Oh,
I like that.
The
Get
brown
into it. No,
Okay.
But
The link is going to be in the bio.
Don't worry.
We need
I was like,
to.
Yeah.
this is super cute.
So
Come
cute.
on.
Yeah, I love the color.
Instagram boyfriend?
Yeah.
That's the last one.
I swear.
That's the last one.
the perfect for fall.
Come on.
In winter.
In winter.
Love
Yes.
that.
Love it. Okay. So, anything else y'all want to talk about yourselves before we get into it? We're going to get into like how you guys met, all of that, but just personally, like anything else you guys want to share?
I think this is our second podcast interview, right?
together, yeah.
Together. Like, we're very funny with like what podcasts and conversations, like platforms we speak on, but
Yeah.
I felt very safe, like, and like seeing you guys email and everything. I was like, yeah, this looks like there's fruit here.
Yes.
So we're happy to be here.
We love that. Please,
Happy
we don't
to.
have any tissue on the
That's
table,
okay.
so any tissue, there's no tears. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you
Thanks,
for having
guys.
us.
Yes.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
Yes,
Cool.
we really appreciate that. So a little bit about us, if you're new here, this is Marriage Pinnacle. Our platform, short and sweet, is we are a platform that really is to support marriage, relationships, and we do it from a cultural lens, a clinical lens, and a little bit of like the life experience. You know, I think that's Nemi's favorite part.
That's my favorite part.
Which
Period.
it makes sense, right? Because the application, you don't know how it is until you get into
Yeah,
it, right? And so we have a peak seeker community that is full of people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, and even older. And and what we thought when we first started this podcast was that we're going to focus on marriage and marriage and marriage and marriage only, but we have a lot of women and men who are just like, what about
How do we
us?
get there?
Right.
How do we get there? How do we get there? Like, we love what y'all talking about, but like, what about us?
Yeah.
And so for us, we really thought it was important to touch on dating in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
But then for us, it's also important to touch on dating with intentionality,
Right.
Because you can date.
Yeah.
You can
Date all day long.
You can date all day long. You can go to dinner. You go to breakfast and brunch.
But is it
if you're-
taking you somewhere?
But is it taking you somewhere?
Right.
And so for us, we really appreciate you saying that you like thought there was fruit here, because
Yeah.
we also were really intentional about who we thought to bring on as well. Because at the end of the day, we could have brought anybody.
Yes. Yeah.
But it really is like, how do I date with intentionality, and how do I produce fruit.
Yes.
That's really important to us. So we're really happy that we're having this conversation with you guys. So a little bit of the setup is going to be a little different this time.
Yeah.
But let me get into it. Like,
Yeah, so we start off normally with like internet chokeholds where we try to talk about kind of what's going on in the blogosphere, social media
Lord.
sphere,
Yes.
like different things we noticed and
Yeah.
seen. And then we normally go into like relationship gems, which is our application part, like where people bring out their notepads and kind of, walk away with digestible gems, things that they
that's
can
good.
actually apply to their personal lives. But because when we have guests, we switch it up a little bit because we want to hear from you guys. So we're going to ask you guys questions, and it's just going to be kind of conversational. We're going to try to make it not like an interview, because we're not on our Oprah just yet.
not just yet.
We getting there.
We getting there.
So we're going to try to make it more conversational.
I like that.
I'm down.
Yeah.
So for our icebreaker, so for those of you who know, for the girls that know, for the guys that know, we have conversation cards, and by the time this episode comes out,
They will be here.
no, we've been saying it for a long time. We're sorry, we've been saying it for a minute, but now we can guarantee
They will be here.
They will be
They'll
here.
be here.
And so
No joke.
it was funny. That's a little
Manufacturer
bit.
is no joke.
It's crazy. So this is our dating and engaged deck, and we thought obviously because they've been dating with intention that this is going to be something that we think will be fun for them to ask each other a couple questions and just see what their responses are. They don't know, and we want to get raw responses because at the end of the day, when you guys are going through these cards, we're not going to be here, and
Right.
you're going to have to deal with some of these questions on your own.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put the deck here, and I'm gonna ask you each take a card.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to say I'm excited because I'm the girlfriend that's like on the phone late at night. He's half asleep, and I'm like, so why do you love me? Like I'm asking like super deep questions.
Super deep. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Not right now,
My
right?
brain is off.
I'm just trying to chill. Actually, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to chill. All right, who's gonna go first? Who's gonna go second?
All
Let me
right.
get the card.
Oh.
Like that. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So I'll go 1st.
Mhm.
What do you think our marriage will be like?
Ooh, that's a good question. Am I answering now or?
You're answering now, so that means y'all get married. Then I know that.
Amen.
So,
We are.
You are.
We
Absolutely
are.
intentional.
Amen. If Jesus don't come back beforehand, though,
Come
'cause,
on,
you know,
man.
'cause there's a lot going on. I'm like, Lord, just wait a minute, just a little grace.
Get a white girl, Lord. Just a little bit of white girl.
I think our marriage is going to be fun.
Mhm.
I think we are going to have a lot of like in-depth conversations of deconstructing what the church is like. Like we were having one on the way here
Yeah.
about kind of like what does growth and development look like in a church without it being too businessy. I think we'll have like a lot of those conversations, and I think it's gonna be like a lot of teaching each
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
because like you're such a teacher when it comes to like theology and things, and
Mhm.
also like creativity.
Mhm.
But I think I'm a teacher when it comes to like the strategy, structure, being sure you're stewarding well. We are very opposite, but like we like compliment each other so well.
So me and my
But
husband.
it can be annoying.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so when you say you guys are opposite, like what? Like, is it personality? Because I'm getting extrovert, introvert. Is that what a lot of it is?
Yes.
You are spot on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would say extrovert, introvert,
Yes.
super clean, preppy, loud,
Yeah.
quiet,
Okay.
messy.
Creatives are typically because they're just
Yeah,
always
I think sometimes I'll come over and like I'll see his mom. I'll come upstairs to like see how everything is and stuff in his room. I'm like, babe, sorry, I might put too much out there, but I'm like, what is going on? Like, yeah, but I can see like your creative process with your like marker board and like your laptop and your Bibles are all over the place. I'm like, okay, as long as you in your word.
Come on,
that's all that matters. Yeah.
Everything's organized to
to
me.
you. Organized chaos.
Yeah.
Organized chaos.
That's me right
absolutely
there.
a thing. It's
That is
absolutely a
me.
thing.
Yeah, and I think one difference is, and my sister actually spoke to it. It's just how we approach like moments and opportunities. So like Asa, she would be someone who like sees the moment. Like if it's right in front of me, I'll do it.
Yes.
Me, I'm like, let me wait for the moment.
Yeah.
Not wait for it to pass me by, but it's just like, I think there's a better opportunity if you just take another step forward rather
Yeah.
than just like, let's go for it now. It's like, let's see how this plays out, and then let's see if we can take it
So
that way.
careful versus
Yeah.
kind of
Oh, yeah.
going for it.
That's
Yeah.
a teachable moment, right?
Yeah.
Because you need both.
You
Yeah.
need both.
You need both.
Yeah, risk taker.
Yeah.
I'm very more risk averse.
Risk-averse.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh yeah, we talked about that in counseling too because I'm a risk taker. Like
Yeah.
I've lived in so many cities, y'all. I've lived in from just being in the States,
Yeah.
like PA, New Jersey, Los Angeles, but then I've also studied abroad in China. Like I got to extend my trip to go stay in Hong Kong for a few weeks, and then
You out
came back,
here.
went to India. So I'm like the adventurous risk taker.
Yeah.
My thing is like I'm always careful in like making sure that I'm in line with God's will, but I'm also very much like, and if it's not the right decision, I know that God's going to redirect me to where I need to be.
Period.
And that helps me, one, prioritize grace over having control. And then also, like, it helps me just know that, like, if I fall, God gonna catch me.
Come on now.
So this one, he's
I've
like,
been in New York all my life.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I've been in New York all my life. Even though New York in itself is its own like animal and
It
beast.
is absolutely jungle.
So many possibilities can happen just every single day.
Yeah.
But I think with that is like the risk aversiveness. That's the word.
We're gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it.
That happens there is like, okay, I know this would happen, I know that will happen. What, like, the parameters are set, so what can I do within those parameters?
Okay.
Instead of like, let me break through and see what happens there. It's like, there's enough here. That I can just, like,
Something can happen.
Make something happen here. So those are differences there.
And I think that does play a factor because you're not from like a little small country town where it's like you have to go.
And
Yeah.
So so growing up in New York, I can see how you just feel like there's enough here.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't
I'm
gotta do too much.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I never thought of it from that perspective.
It's like you just feel.
Yeah, I'm a small suburbs girl.
Yeah.
I grew up in like Voorhees, New Jersey. Was born and raised in like Mount Holly, Willingboro, South Jersey girls. If y'all watching, shout out to us. Okay. And so it was very small, and it was just like same thing over and over. But we got some good people that came out of Jersey.
I love that.
Some good people who like just jumped out on faith.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with our upbringings too. She had a very stable life in New York, in a city that was so big and crazy.
Yeah, that can be
And
a
then-
chaos. Really.
Yeah, and then like me growing up in like a spot like Voorhees that's very affluent, like I didn't always have that stability. I would, like what the lifestyle was in was glitz and glam, but it wasn't like that at home. So there was a lot of like trauma and things that I had to like go through and heal from, and so that's probably why also too I'm more let's take risks because we don't got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So,
And, you know, just
That
even
plays a
saying
part.
that, we're not about to unpack that because everybody's like, oh, you're a psychologist. We're not going to unpack it. But I do think that is worth just recognizing and noticing because when you come from those different types of backgrounds, it can be a lot of bumping of the heads a lot of times. So not even going back to personality, but just like literally your upbringing can really like shift in like how you see the world versus how he sees the world, and that can cause like confusion. But you guys seem so aligned, even though you're so different.
Yeah.
So I love that.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
We have our days.
It's hard. And that's kind of what we always talk about here.
Always.
Like people hate to talk about how marriage is hard or it takes work, but in reality, because of what we're just talking about, we're coming from two different. Like we're not siblings.
Yes.
Right.
Even
So
siblings.
we didn't
Even
have
siblings,
even
siblings
siblings
have
personality
different-
differences.
Yes.
Correct. But
Yeah.
it's like we have completely different life experiences that brought us to where we are now.
Yeah.
So in order for us to continue to move and come on the same path, we kind of have to shift and move, and that does require work. It requires self-awareness. It requires, healthy mindset, and like you said, working through those traumas and things, so you're not bringing that to the table. And it's a lot. It's a lot.
Go ahead.
We could be here
I
all
was gonna
day.
say there's I remember like one of my mentors was like there is a level of healing that like you won't experience until you get in a relationship like with your like husband, like your
partner.
partner. Yeah, like and I didn't really understand that because I also was taught in the church kind of this idea you have to be perfect before being in a relationship.
Yeah.
But really there's a whole nother level of work that comes once you're in that relationship. And it comes when you're single, like technically we're still I guess single before married.
Single before
I
married.
don't know, but like that work I'd be like, dang, like it's supposed to be this hard, like
It's real.
But-
and we talked about that in the last episode, how your spouse is like the craziest mirror you'll ever
Oh
have.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Like,
a mirror. It's
Maybe
things
not.
that you've never seen about
I'd be
yourself,
like-
that you never thought about yourself,
No,
that your
I'm perfect.
spouse will reflect to you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And they're like, actually, no, you're not. You're not
Yo.
perfect.
Not even close, babes.
Yeah, not even
close.
Not even close.
I have
Yeah, your turn.
Okay,
Yep.
this question is there a way to balance submission and personal autonomy in a relationship? If so, how? I'm glad I didn't get that.
Of course,
That's a lot.
of course you give the man. What'd you think about submission?
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
Setup.
it is a setup.
So being raised in church and things like that, there's the baseline of the scripture being used, wives submit to your husbands.
Yeah.
And we've seen how sometimes that's been used to manipulate with women and things like that, where it's like, wherever I say it goes.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I think there is, how do I balance it, is honoring what you can do, your capacity and what you're able to do. Because I think what some people do when they use that verse or something like that, they take away a woman's like capacity to do something. Whereas like, you're unable to do that. It's like, no, I can, but I am choosing to let you do it so that you could carry it out. Because it's a two-way street where, it says, wives submit to your husbands, but it's like, well, husbands love your wives, Christ love the church.
Come on now.
So if with that side, it's like, okay, if there's an expectation that my wife would be, okay, as I love, him, as I submit to him, I should be submitted to Christ too.
That's right.
So to balance the autonomy is like, all right, I'll take the suggestion. Like, we'll have the conversation.
Yeah.
I won't just do it without communicating with you. I won't just do it without talking. But okay, what do you think about this? And then, I'll make the decision. And that decision could very well much be your entire suggestion.
Well, what time it is?
That's clear. Yep.
I'm trying to stay quiet.
Come on now. Be submissive. Come on.
But like the other side to it is like, let that be a respect factor too. Because even as much as I'm not taking away your capacity, don't take away my capacity as well. Right. Whereas like, hey, I am capable of making a decision. I am capable of doing this thing too. Yeah. But to balance it is like, all right, let's communicate it rather than just saying, well, I'm the man of the house, so whatever I say goes. It's like, no. What can you, because you may have a better skill. A great leader knows the skills of all the people that they follow. So if I recognize that you're able to handle money well, I have to lean on you.
You're talking about our episode.
I'm sorry.
No, say it again. Say it again.
What
is it? You need a man on the episode. Here he is.
They get it from you, so it's fine. Keep going. Go ahead.
If you're able to handle money well, then I should listen to what you're able to do in that situation. If I'm able to handle a house well, then then probably need to hear what I have to say about handling the house well too. Like, this is like, and if we have to, I think one thing is like time is our like little hitch and things like that.
Because
right?
one thing about me, I'm gonna be late. But I'm doing better. I'm doing better.
That's always strive. Strive to be better.
This one, he's gonna be there like 30 minutes to an hour early. I don't want to be there that
to
early.
leave, but I feel comfortable.
Because where I come from, if you that early, you're gonna be there setting up. I'm not trying to be there. I'm trying to show up a little 10, 15 minutes.
But then that's my excuse to leave. What? Man, I set up 30 minutes. I'm tired. I got to go now. Just understanding.
That's an introvert coming out. Because I'll come late, I'll come early, and I'll still be cleaning up at the end. Because I don't want to be.
You want to stay and clean up? No, I want to leave early.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
like with that, it's like, hey, I'd rather us do this, like follow along. It's better if we could not, if we're rushing here, no, let's take care of this so we don't have to rush when we get there, because I'm paying attention that, we don't like it when we have to rush to a place and then we have to get settled down. We're in the environment. Maybe it might be better if we wake up a little earlier, take our time here so that we can take our time when we get there. Because guess what? The train ride there is always going to be 1 hour.
Come on, every time
we're not going to change it.
It can only get more.
It only get more. But
it's always
never get less.
Yeah.
So let's not be like in a state of frenzy there and just take our time that way. It's like, okay, I'll lead with that. Rather, that's the communication there. So if someone knows how to handle time better, then hey, let's hear this out. Okay, I'll follow your lead and take it from there. If you handle money better, I'll hear what you say. But okay, I take that. I think that works, and let's handle there. But if we're both coming up with stubbornness and pride, then
and that's where
nothing's gonna grow, regardless if it's submission or anything. If you're both leading with pride, it's not going to grow.
I would love to say too. I think the women like myself who are very like, we're like, what do they call it? Alpha women? I don't know. Like if that's the word, like. we have all these degrees and we're like very aspirational. Like we just have all these things. We're go-getters.
Yeah.
And when it comes to submission, I think that women like us, we have to feel safe with who's leading because we know how to lead.
Come on.
Like I had to learn how to make my own meals and how to make sure I'm showing up to school on time and all things. So I didn't really have that parent in the household always watching over me because I had that autonomy.
Yeah.
So now getting in a relationship with a man who actually knows how to lead, I have to learn how to submit in certain places.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll not lie. I'm like, oh, I don't have to even think about this.
Turn it off.
Turn
Turn the brain off.
I get to turn my brain
it
off
for free.
We'll be in the airport. I know where we're going, but like not really. I'm like, I don't know what gate we at.
He know where we're going. That's all
That is my main thing with girls trips. I'm like, but who's gonna carry my luggage?
Exactly. Like
this one don't never want to go on a girls trip. Give her a man a trip with a man. She don't want to go.
I literally went on a trip with like by myself met up with some friends, and then the following week I went on a trip with my husband, and I was just like, you see,
it's different.
I gotta navigate. I don't have to go to a rental. Like, just come pick me back up.
Just have to wait here with the bags. You can get the rental. Yes, absolutely. It's different.
Nice.
It's different. That's so awesome. I love that, and I love that again. You guys have that awareness now because I think that what is difficult is if first of all you don't ever read a question like this. You never talk about submission. Then you get in a marriage and I'm the man and you got to do it how I want to, or I'm an alpha woman and I've been doing it okay, then it becomes an issue because you guys haven't talked about it.
Yeah.
So again, I think that really goes to show that you guys at least have even had the conversation. And we understand that for us, we talk about submission in the biblical sense, right? We're talking about it again, like you said, if I'm submitting to my husband, then my husband submitted to Christ because he loves us like the church. You know, that's not the thinking that everyone has, unfortunately. And people get that wrong a lot of times.
Oh, I do. I'm not, and I'm gonna say too. I'm still learning submission.
Yeah, of course.
I think that I still haven't learned necessarily what submission looks like with finance because we don't share finances. Like when we get married, we'll probably learn that then.
Call me.
But like, I will say. I have another mentor who like told me one thing that comes with submission is going to require you to learn how to trust God more. Because that personal autonomy part of this question, that personal autonomy is you now going to God to pray about something you don't trust him with. So like, let's say God forbid I didn't trust him with finances. Now it's my responsibility not to yell at you and to curse at you and check all your, transactions, but it's my responsibility now to go to the Lord and say, God, lead him in this area, convict him in that area. So that personal autonomy should be a conviction to like now trust that God's going to lead him.
That's right.
It's just it's like, whew, Lord,
layers.
I didn't know marriage came with all of that.
But the thing is though, but that's the work, right? And the thing is when you're prepared for that, like granted, every day is different, and sometimes you're like, Lord Jesus, this is what I'm supposed to be, Lord. I know this is what I'm supposed to be, but this is hard. But my thing is you have to remember that it is going to continually be a journey. You're always going to have to work. And there's going to be some times when things are just great. But then you come against something, you're like, oh, we ain't never dealt with this before. Here we are. We got to navigate this together. But when you're coming with your own agenda and this person come with his own agenda, that's where you get the issue because you're not willing to come and be on the same team. So
and that's so important. That's one of the, I know I've talked about this a lot, but just to let you guys know, one of the things that we learned in our marriage counseling back in the 90s.
I'm not even gonna say that. I'm not gonna bring that in.
Back in the day, what he told us was that if you're having conflict together as husband and wife, and one person feels like they won, like the conflict, like, oh, yes, I got that.
Both lost.
Got both lost.
Yeah.
Like,
we were taught that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So that's so, and so like me, like we don't play with that. We take that very
space. But I feel like we should also put this out there. So we have completed pre-engagement counseling.
Okay.
So we haven't done premarital, but we finished pre-engagement. So it's like a glimpse of the conversation you shared.
Because people don't do that.
I never even knew that.
I've heard about it, but I didn't know that it was like a thing that like I'm sure that's something you have to seek out unless your church offers it or something like that. But that's something that people don't do either. Pre-engagement, no.
Absolutely, I feel like all pastors, leaders should. Because we saw too many friends getting engaged and then having to break it off. And one thing you ain't about to do is embarrassing. Okay?
You ain't about to play in my face or not.
No, so we're gonna go to counseling. We're gonna figure this out, and then we're gonna decide if we want to get engaged.
I
so
love
that's
that.
how we know. Like we were like
Intentionality.
scared. Yeah, because we were like, listen, this could either go left or right.
But that's how
Like,
you need
But you
to
have to trust
figure
it.
it out,
Trust the
though.
process.
so that's how we know
Come
we're getting
on.
married because we went through
Yeah.
pre-engagement. We had the hard conversations. We still are having
Hard
them.
conversations, yeah.
Yeah.
With tools on how to communicate.
That's the
with
best
those
part. And I was
hard
going to give you your
conversations.
props for how you navigated that conversation, even though I think it was, I don't know if it was a real conversation, but the thing about the time.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah,
I think
that was like
what
real
you-
time. You could tell that you were like,
yeah.
but
And
you were
I think
sensitive
what
to how you were
very
answering.
sensitive. And I think what was beautiful about it was how you showed the care and love. Like, I don't want you to be in a frenzy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to be stressed.
Because I'd be in a frenzy with you.
Yeah, I'm a lit girl too, so I get it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but I love your approach to it because it's like, hey, like this is not even about like me trying to be in control or me
Yeah.
trying to, like it's literally I want you to be at peace. Like I want this to be pleasant for both of us.
Yeah.
So like I can help you with that if you just like listen to me. You know?
Exactly.
let's get
You
up
know?
a little earlier.
Yes.
Start getting
And it's
ready.
very gentle. So
Yeah.
I feel like if and that's a good example. And I know life, like Lara said, you never know what life is going to bring it. It's going to throw at you. So there might be times where you don't really feel like doing it. Like you getting on my nerves, like I'm about to curse. But it's like I think having that heart and like that idea, and you even knowing like he always wants what's best for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had to learn that.
That is so. That's so.
I had to learn that. Oh, this is bringing up something else.
Come on.
Okay.
We still on the
Yeah.
Right,
It's all good. It's all good.
If you're someone who grew up or have trauma around authority or people who are in authority places, whether if it was a guardian, a parent, whatever, who did not like care for you well, or maybe they just didn't know. Maybe they just kind of continued a cycle of you under my house, as long as you got food on the table, I'm taking care of you. That type of mindset,
Yeah.
and they didn't actually nurture you, then it is actually going to show up in your relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you're afraid to submit to someone who, I don't know if I would call husband authority. I don't know if that's the right word, but like the fear of submission is there because of the fear of authority from the past. So like I struggled to listen to authority in certain places, like when I was younger, because I wasn't sure if you were trying to help me or just be in control,
Absolutely.
or just trying to use me.
Yeah.
And so when you like tell me like you're trying to lead me so that I'm okay, it makes me feel safe, and I now can submit because I feel safe. Like you're never gonna want to submit someplace you don't feel safe.
Never.
Yeah.
Never. It's not gonna
That's like
happen.
almost impossible.
It's impossible.
And I think like even if you're hesitant about using the word authority, and you know some people don't want to look at it like that, but even in partnership, like me and Lara are partners, and we still have to like flex, bend to like okay, Lara, like I trust you on this, like you got this, like even with the camera, like Lara be like I don't need to see it, like
What I say, I go.
She don't care.
Like,
I'm like, Lara, just
let me
come
go
and
and check
look.
it, make sure it looks fine. I trust you. That's that's
You
actually a
know?
really good example.
Yeah, but so even because I look at my marriage more of like a partnership, like
Yeah.
we're both have the same goals in life. Like
Yeah.
we want the same things. Like we want our kids to. So it's like I look at us as like we're trying to do this together.
Yeah.
So there are some times where, like you said, he would ask me for my advice. I would give it to him and be like, "Yeah, that sounds good. We're gonna do that."
Yeah.
And then sometimes I don't even like whatever you think.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with that.
We're gonna do like the refrigerator's broken. Oh, that's so bad. That's
Yeah.
I know you gotta go.
Yeah.
But somebody come in. Okay, good. I know you got it.
When Tolo be bringing the air, he be bringing the vents, the air vents, the filters. I'll be like, oh, what's that? Okay. Where did you even get that? I don't even know where you picked it up. But I know you did it. I know it's working. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So yes, I feel like, and I really appreciate this, and just for our listeners, like this is a podcast, it's whatever, however minutes long or whatever, but clearly this is taking years of work, right? Like this is not something that you guys just got immediately. There were times when you're like, nah, I don't agree with that. I do agree with that, but you guys are continuing to put your best foot forward. And I think that really at the bottom line, even in this icebreaker, it's not to necessarily have you feeling discouraged if you feel like you're not there, but it's to show you that even in your 20s, you can be intentional. You don't have to wait until you're 30 and 40 to be intentional about the thing that you want and you desire.
Right.
So we're really happy again to have this conversation. We want to icebreaker.
Yeah,
So listen, just stay tuned, okay? Because we got a lot coming on. If you have not liked, comment, and subscribed, you need to do that. Clearly you like this. So please hit the that notification bell, subscribe, like, drop a comment. Link below, wherever, up, down, I don't
Get to
know.
it.
Just get into it, okay? So, you can get to that?
Yeah, okay, so guys, our internet chokeholds today is me and Laura saw this video about this girl who packed up her entire life. She lives in California. She packed up her entire life and then moved to Texas. Her man was just like, I want to move to Texas. And she was like, okay, I guess we moving to Texas.
Oh, I think I saw this. Yeah. I think I saw this.
Yeah,
Very
so you guys know
painful.
the story.
And so she,
you know what? You be lost.
No.
And like his dad was sick, I think.
Yeah.
Her dad,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she moved to Texas, and I think they were there for like not even a month or two. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to do this
relationship.
The guy?
Yes.
Oh
and so he just broke up with her. Like, like she moved everything, like packed all her stuff, put everything in the little moving pods, posted all the pictures, and went to Texas. And then 2 months in, he was like, I'm cool off this. And she was, of course, wrecked, devastated. And she ended up having to like move to Florida with her mom or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like to the intentional dating, and I think what we took from it was like there was clearly some signals that were crossed,
and there
were flags that she didn't notice.
Yes. Right.
That she did know that she did, because I think she's a musician or something like that, and she had posted a TikTok that said, about to give a song to my boyfriend, but he doesn't even like it, something. So basically, like, she had posted these things in the past that kind of like spoke to like red flags that maybe she didn't think were a big deal.
Yeah.
Like she did something nice for him and he didn't really acknowledge it. So there were like red flags, you know, and again, we've been married for some time, you know how big sisters, whatever, that's fine. But, you know, what would you say the climate in the dating
in this age
is now? So take yourself out, because I would say, and I correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I would say you guys are more of an exception than the rule. Like the way you guys date, in my opinion. And I could be wrong. Like I said, just from what we see on social media with the 20-something-year-olds, you guys seem more of an exception than the rule. And so we kind of want to get your perspective on like red flags, and people who are dating right now, because I don't know if there's a desire necessarily to get married more so than to have weddings. You know, people see all of the beauty of weddings and people see the beautiful engagements and all of that stuff, and I think that to me is more appealing to people than actually being married and having to do work. And so we just kind of want to get your perspective on the dating environment.
Like what's the climate? Like, is this normal? Like, is this what happens?
So
I have so many questions.
The first thing that like stood out to me is that they started off in LA, and like I lived in LA for like 5 years. Dating's a joke in LA.
So I've heard.
If you're in Los Angeles, you need to guard your heart.
Oh my God.
I've heard.
Guard it at all costs.
Oh my God.
Because in LA, it's such a it's a beautiful city, right? Nice. There's so much happening. Everyone's like an actor, a singer, a model, an influencer, but everyone's there with tunnel vision. And then like during that tunnel vision time, you might meet someone that's cute, that's fun, and like you kind of think, oh, this might be someone I could date. But like really a lot of people's end goal is their career, not a family, not relationship, not a partner. And that's why like for me, it was hard because I've always been an intentional person when it comes to my relationship and what I'm going to do like further beyond work and things. It wasn't until I got to LA when I started realizing like, oh, work is not the end all be all. Like I need to actually plan to have a life outside of this. And so I started dating. But men out there, I feel like they come from all different places. They're just not in that headspace of really being intentional with dating, especially if it's not godly dating. I mean, even the church folk though, I don't know. They be talking about, don't date nobody in church. Please don't.
Don't date nobody in church. Don't date nobody in LA.
LA, period.
She went out away at the pool.
I'm sorry.
Not the pool, nowhere.
I don't know. I'm not even gonna go there.
You don't filter the whole story.
Not even gonna go there. But I would say like the very first, at the least, before I would like even go on a date with someone, I would be like, hey, like, are you dating for marriage or are you just dating for fun?
Just for fun.
If they're like, oh, I'll see where it goes, I'm sorry. It's a no. Like, and maybe I might go on 2 or 3 dates, but if you still don't have like an answer, like if you're dating for marriage after the 2 or 3 dates, I can't take you serious because you're gonna string me along. And then in LA, situationships. In LA, there's nothing but situationships. People going through financial hardship because it's a very expensive city. You're chasing your dreams. You are learning how to lead with integrity. Some people don't care for integrity. So I'm not surprised that like maybe when he brought her home, that he realized you actually don't fit into this life that I have here. And so, unfortunately, I can't continue with you. And it sucks that she had to, sacrifice so much. Oof. But those red flags had to be there.
Yeah.
Because, like, most people in LA are not dating to get married.
So, it's like she just probably had blinders on.
And she probably had a true intention of really, like, you know what, we're going to work through this. We're going to work together.
That's sacrificial.
Yeah. So, I think the signs were there. She might have not seen him. And she also might have not had friends around her. Because and another thing in LA, like you don't have friends, you have associates. Like these people are usually attached to you because of who you're going to become, not because of who you are. So if he performed maybe for background just one night, and now everybody wants him to be your boyfriend because that's going to help them get closer to where they're going to be. So there's not a lot of genuine relationships there that might have even been there to tell her like, hey girl, do you notice this might be off? Or do you notice like this isn't this you could do better, or I don't know, but just once I heard Los Angeles, I'm like, there's a whole other warfare attachment right there.
In their own space. Do you anything?
I have a lot of questions in terms of that relationship because I mean, what were the flags there? What happened in Texas? Like, it was
I think his dad was getting sick.
Like, not to give a cop out, but it's like, did that overwhelm you so much that you want to break up the relationship? And but also even in that like decision making, that is kind of considered to the person that you brought, like
allowing her to even go that.
It's like, was she originally from California or was she from Florida? Like that, like all that's going through my mind, just like what was the travel there?
No, I think he was the attachment in California. He was the attachment in LA.
In LA, okay.
Because they were in Texas, and she was in Texas, moved to LA where he was, and then I guess because she didn't have more money, she moved to Florida back to her mom.
Gotcha.
And
so it's like even in all of that, but to your question in terms of like what is dating like, I'm like in my 30s a little bit, 31.
Yeah.
You're still fresh.
You still fresh.
It's brand new here. I'm still on the calendar. For some months. In general, I mean, I be hearing from my homegirls, especially like their stories, and sometimes I'm just like, you know what, y'all are right, men are trash. Like, I just hear something, and I'm just
I apologize on behalf of my species.
That's literally my phrase. The entire time I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking, I'm just so like, bro, why did you do that? Like, you didn't have to.
Too much.
You didn't have like. I'm sure you don't want anyone to waste your time like this. So why did you waste this person's time as well? And that's why I just always come back to like that intentionality. Like once a man has intentionality, then all those questions would be answered. You don't have to double check anything because like the red flags become like yellow or even green because like, okay, you're being intentional with it. So even if I don't like this because of everything else you've been intentional with, I could work through with it because there's probably flags you see in me as to why you continue to be intentional. Whereas just like you probably see something like, oh, dang, you're kind of a little spendthrift, but you know what? I'm still cool with you. Like I'm still here. Or like, all right, there's little things that I may be a little uncomfortable with, but hey, let's push through. It's not the what's the word? It's not the end all be all. It's not like the final straw. It's not the other shoe that fell. It's just like, okay, this is something I could work through rather than like make it be the end all be all.
Right.
So I think that's what comes to like, it really all comes back to that intentionality because if a man isn't intentional, then it is wasting time. It is just because you were just fine without it if you didn't come here.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I think also too, I wonder if we took all that off the table, if maybe every time he looked at her, it was a reminder that he couldn't chase his career at that time because he had to take care of dad. And I think that's hard too. Like probably meeting this girl in California and like having this like you're high on a horse, living in LA. Everyone thinks you're making it because you're just there.
Yeah.
And then having to go back to Texas and going back to your hometown, and now you have this girl that, like, you know, you were on this high horse with. I don't know if it could have been also too, like, you're just a reminder that I can't be where I really want to be right now.
Yeah.
But I just want to say this. If you are on an assignment in any city, whether it's LA, your hometown, whatever, the men are going to come and they are distractions. If they're not sent from the Lord, they are. I know. I know for a fact. Like, been there, done that. Lord, thank you for your gratefulness, your forgiveness, and your deliverance. All of it, because it was definitely distractions. And also, too, it was just people having access to, like, my gift and wanting to use that for their own selfish motives, not because they genuinely, like, loved and liked me. So just stay on assignment.
Come on now. I love that. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that goes for us too. I mean, shoot, if anything, that's what church be preaching to men. It's like, well, they're distractions. So it's just like,
Not always.
so there's help me. But again, is that, you know, stay on assignment. So that way when someone does come into your life, it's like, and this is something my pastor taught me, is like, is this person taking you away from Christ or bringing you closer to Christ? So that's always the thing where, and, you know, to every other listener, it's just like, you know, what is this person pulling? Is this person pulling you from what you want to do, or pulling you closer to what you want to do? And I think once that's the focus, that helps guide on making your decisions.
The alignment.
Yeah.
That's a nice segue. Okay, so for you guys, so if you guys can give us a brief kind of overview of how you guys met, because you guys are 3 years in, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you guys are 3 years in. So you were in your 20s when you first
Yes.
you were a baby.
He's like my age, right?
Yeah.
I'm 20.
Yeah, so you were a little baby back then. So can you talk a little bit about what that was like, and then how you feel like you have navigated just this dating phase? You talked a little bit about just like even being intentional about the pre-engagement, but how has that journey been?
It's so funny because, okay, so let me start. There's so much I want to say, but I'm going to keep it condensed. So we met, it was like 2021, right? Or 2020. It was during the pandemic.
Almost like the pandemic.
Yeah, 2021. Everyone's still on IG Live. Y'all know that was an era.
That was time to be alive. Time to be alive. Crazy enough.
IG Live in Clubhouse.
Yes, it was Clubhouse era. Oh my gosh. So we had, what was it? Ezekiel had like a, what's his name? Him and his wife sometimes do events and stuff. But this time it was just him. He was doing like not like a speed dating, but it was like come up on live, share
all
who
the
you are.
Christian men.
Where all the Christian men at, or something like that.
I know he did that.
Yeah, I feel like he has such good conversations and things. And during that time, IG Live was very hot.
Yes.
So he was having a lot of conversations around dating and finding your Christian, like your believer spouse. And so,
we try to get him on a podcast.
Hey.
Ezekiel's on. He's a poet.
When you see him, you're gonna be like, oh, okay.
Ezekiel, please come.
So I was on his live, just in the comment. I remember having a very bad day that day. Like I was just going through it. I don't know what was going on, but I just didn't feel like getting dressed. I didn't feel 100%. But I remember going to his live, and it just turned my whole day around. And because it was a lot of laughter, a lot of fun. Yeah. And it was just like a lot of like Christian girls and guys just talking about how ghetto dating can be, especially in the church. And so afterwards, I remember commenting and being like, after party on my live, like, let's all go talk about what just happened. Because we was on his live. I think Instagram had to shut him down.
Yeah, and that's what was happening back then. You had to feel like it's not.
So after that, we all came over to my live, and I was on live with my friend Sade Solomon. Shout out to my sister Sade. She's behind she has a singles brand. She talks about celibacy or waiting for marriage. Nice. And she also does the Not Another Singles Conference.
Okay.
Yeah, in New York.
To you, Sade.
It's beautiful. And we were all on live. She had her friends on there. There was a few guys who hopped on. A few of the guys were hollering at me.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. And then he comes on the IG Live, and we're all talking. And he was talking about how a girl had ghosted him. And I was talking about how I'm just done with dating. I'm over it. I don't want it. I was done, and I'm a lover girl. I've had a boyfriend since I was like 5 years old. Okay, like should not have. I'm a girl. This is not one season, I'm like, never again.
Never again. I'm done.
And here
I'm
he
done.
come on an IG live, and she's like, DP meet Asa, Asa meet DP.
Wow, are you kidding?
And I was kind of over it. I wasn't really trying to
Yeah.
like talk to him. I thought he was too churchy for me. I thought like he was too goody two shoes for me. Yeah. And then Sade calls me right after the live and was like, can I give him your number? And I was like, fine, okay. But I was ready to scare him away.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
Yeah, you're like, mm-mm.
mind you, he's in New York, I'm in LA. I'm like,
Like, how does one work?
yeah.
Yeah.
And my ex before that had literally told me he really kind of didn't want to pursue things because I was so far. And I also was like, I really want us to get like solid in our relationship with God, and I want us to think about our future. But he just that wasn't what he wanted.
to do.
And so it was a hard breakup. And so I was just kind of like, whatever, I'm done with it, like whatever. And then we started talking. You texted me after leaving me on red for a few days.
Please.
And then
Wow. DP don't even look like the type.
You're never gonna live that down.
I have my reason because that's all I'm gonna stand
I
on.
love that
I'm
stuff.
gonna stand on
Hey,
my
stand
reason.
on your reason. Hey, I
I know why I did.
I appreciate that.
So we started just texting, and then we got on FaceTime. I remember the first FaceTime, I just kind of being like bland. I didn't put on makeup
No
on.
makeup on.
I barely had my hair done. I was trying to scare this man away.
She's like, bye.
I was so over it.
Yeah.
And then we just kept talking.
Yeah.
But really what started, I think, our conversations was, I was in a season also of deconstructing my faith and really understanding what I believe, because I was always brought up in a church,
Yeah.
but it was like living in LA, you have to really know how to apply it.
Yeah.
And living in LA is a whole nother beast
Conversation.
of
I can
like
imagine.
warfare,
I can imagine.
career,
Yeah.
like all these things. And I was just in a weird space with the Lord, and I feel like he came at just the right time, because I was like determining if I was going to keep going to church.
Yeah.
And church is one of those things I've always loved.
done. Yeah.
And I remember him telling me like, yeah, I go to church on Saturday. So we started talking about why he goes to church on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we would have these debates, and I would be like, I like you. Like, you make me think. Like,
You challenge me.
Yeah.
Yes.
you making me go look and see if that actually say what it say in the scripture.
Yeah,
Like,
now. Yes.
yeah.
I love that.
So then we just kept talking and talking, and
Yeah, and then you did mention that you were from Jersey, so there's opportunity to come to the East Coast.
Yeah.
So she came in August that year, and then we started talking on our first date. And then I visited LA in September, and so it was like, okay, this is something. And then that was more my like made it like official. Like, all right, I want to make.
Yeah,
So what was the
Girlfriend.
process? What was the duration of time? So
So
you
we
said you
started in June.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
in June. I left her on red because.
So tell us why, because we had a reason.
So
Wait, only if it's not TMI.
no.
Okay.
So, well, for me a little bit, but not too much. We were in quarantine for a whole year. New York was in quarantine for a whole year. We had nothing.
Yeah.
We couldn't do anything. We couldn't mix and mingle. We had to like go all through these parameters. So then it was June of 2021. So it was the New York summer is
We
legendary.
thought Drake was about to drop
So
an
it's
album.
like, so we out here.
No,
Like,
we're here.
what does the world have to offer in June 2021?
He was
So
like,
it's like
Far away.
California is
It's
very
far
far away.
away.
So if I
Let
were
me
to,
say my pond.
I'm back.
we were back.
Literally.
So if someone in proximity
Come on
came
now.
along,
that's crazy.
Why would I
like-
be chasing
I
something
got
all the way?
that.
I get it.
let me see what.
He was trying to be outside.
He's trying to be
Let me see
outside.
what
In
the
his
lay of the
pond.
land.
I
Literally
get it.
probably outside.
Let me see what the lay of the land has
Like,
to offer. And because California's so far, 3 hour
far
time
away.
difference,
I
it's
get
like,
it. I
okay.
get that.
Valid.
So then, you know,
I never side with Man DP.
She did. One thing about her, the woman children gotta hear the story. The woman is right.
Yeah.
Literally.
you see it.
But
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes sense.
So I was
Valid.
like, okay, let's just keep it there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you just said, is something gonna come from this?
Mhm.
Like we're on a different coast.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of left it on red a little bit. Then we start on FaceTime. Then it's like, okay, I actually genuinely like to have a conversation with this person. And then everything else in terms of like other qualifications, there we go. I'm like, okay. Like more and more. It's like I want to talk to this person. I remember I was in Mexico with my guys, and then like I was chilling, and then like everyone was having fun. I was just
you were
like,
thinking about Asa.
I'm gonna talk to this
I'm
person.
gonna talk to this person.
So I just like disappeared and I just went to the room. And I was like, we're calling up face.
Talk to my girl.
Yeah, and we kept while we were talking and everything, like we kept everything very private. Like we didn't tell
As
nobody
you
we were dating. When he even asked me to be his girlfriend, like we didn't tell anyone. People were putting two and two together because they were like seeing us in the same location at the same time. We'd run into people and they would be like, "What?" Like, but then we're like, "Oh, this makes sense." So eventually it started to. Eventually we were like, okay, after our 1 year anniversary, we're gonna let everyone know.
Yeah.
So no one thinks we're moving like in secrecy.
Yeah.
But it really protected our relationship the first year.
Yeah.
Because we still had to learn a lot too. We were long distance, 3 hours. I was 3 hours behind. You were 3 hours ahead. We have different also backgrounds. So I was brought up non-denominational, maybe a little Pentecostal and Baptist.
Man, a little bit of man.
Yeah.
Non-denominational is just Pentecostal with a little P.
And he's 7 day.
Okay.
Yeah.
7 Day Church of God.
Yeah. So there was that of even like the distance in itself. So, and that was when I was like in full-time work. So 6 o'clock, I'm off. It's only 3 o'clock. She's outside. Like, oh, it's daytime.
Just
The birds are chirping. Me, I'm like, all right, let me wind down.
Yeah,
And it's 9 o'clock, and it's like still 6 birds. So it's like my bedtime. I'm trying to go to sleep. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's like it's intentional with it. So we just didn't want to like just blab about it on social media. Like, oh yeah, here I am, still up late. You know, screenshots of the caller ID that tells you how long.
It's over 4 hours.
Yeah, and then my brand took off in 2020. I moved to LA 2019, 2020, I was taking off.
Nice.
And it was another level of visibility.
Yeah.
And then I also used to talk a lot about activism and like political conversations.
Yeah.
And so I would get a lot of hate comments and things. So I was feeling nervous about showing up on the internet.
Absolutely.
And I just wasn't sure like what to share, what not to share.
That's important. And that's interesting because we're talking about dating in your 20s, and that's something we didn't really have to think about when we were dating.
Yes.
About like, can I post my man? I was like, why not?
Yeah.
But it's like nowadays, it's very much like what they call a soft launch. Like,
Soft launch.
Yeah, you
Soft
put your
launch.
hand, the man's hand,
Right.
right there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, eventually it becomes a hard line. Some people wait till they're engaged.
Yeah, my sister did that.
It's like, so it's interesting nowadays how people try to protect their relationship from social media.
Yeah, social media in itself just is like another language to like navigate it.
Yeah.
Because like I think we did like a little soft launch here and there.
Yeah.
Like it was like the back of my head.
Oh yeah, that's what they see.
And then on my side, it was just like very chill. But then to someone else, it's like, dang, how you don't post her? You don't post her? Gee, you hiding something?
And that's when it's the background noise that starts to infiltrate the relationship.
Exactly.
You know, and and I feel like that's I'm glad that you guys went and said it because I was thinking it because social media, it can be beautiful. And we say this all the time, like social media can be a blessing. You know what I mean? And like it does give you the visibility, helps brands grow, things like that. But then also it gives you a lot of unasked for information. It's asking for your opinion. I'm doing it my way because that's the way I want to do it. But now you're like, wait, should I be worried or should I be thinking this way? Or is there something wrong with the fact that he didn't post me? Or and so then all of that starts to impact like a relationship that was completely fine. You know, so.
And a lot of women too, that I noticed in the influencer space, use the soft launches as a prop to like get engagement. And I remember I was signed to a talent agency at the time and they were like, your engagement's down, maybe you should like try to do a campaign or do a post with your boyfriend. And I was like, no, like this is that one area of my life I want to be protected. And they were always just trying to monetize our relationship. And I know that, like, we knew that would come. We knew there would be a time when we'd be able to sit on a podcast and talk and things, but I didn't want to jump into it because I feel like a lot of influencers do that, and then they wonder why the relationship goes outside. And one thing I've always been taught is that the enemy would love to kill something when it's at infancy.
Come on,
so like if he doesn't know about it, then he can't attack it. And so I was just like trying to protect our relationship, but also like we were still trying to navigate how we were going to do this. Long distance, 2 different denominations. We also like had very clear preferences of what we wanted in dating, and we're complete opposite. So God was like, "You don't need that, you need this." So we were also kind of like, "God, why did we like?" I was like, "I want a tall, dark skin, Idris Elba type of, or what's his name? More chestnut." Like, I've always been like, I want like that type of But God had to like remove my preferences to make sure that it aligns with purpose.
Yes.
And so like it was a lot of deconstructing and still is.
And
That's
you
so
know,
good.
and you know, I'm trying not to open a can of worms here because I'm like, wait, I'm gonna get to the questions that we have. But I really think that's so good because unfortunately, when you're not able to hear the voice of God, and again, we get all of our viewers are not believers, and we completely understand that, and that's okay. But when you again are just taking in everything, I guess, with the as it comes on paper, right? So you see what you see, and you're like, that's all I want, and you're not able to even be malleable. I think it doesn't allow you to see the beautiful things that are in front of you, right? Because you can have the best looking guy, but he has no depth, he has no purpose, he doesn't believe in your vision, your dreams, and it's like, yeah, you got the pretty art. I mean, it was arm candy, but he fighting you every night at home. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about physical abuse, but he's not investing or pouring into your dreams. But then you have somebody who maybe is not necessarily what you thought you wanted, but is literally pushing you into your next chapter, pushing into your purpose. And I just feel like a lot of people, so that's a little nugget for y'all, for our 20-year-olds, our 20-somethings, is that it's not always about what meets the eye. You know, you guys have to be open. And that's one thing we talk about all the time, is that openness. Because even in marriage, you have to be open.
You do.
You have to be open because things are not going to always be in the package that you thought it was going to be in.
Right.
You know, and you miss out on such beautiful blessings when you're just focused on one way.
And we're always focused on the attributes. Like, why is it that we want him to be tall and dark skinned? And the Lord had to like convict me of that. And like, what character do you want him to have?
Like the inside, right?
That's like
because
what
the beauty fades.
The beauty fades. And one thing I know about being an influencer and working in the marketing industry as a strategist. We spend so much time on making it look good, but the actual product might not be that good.
It ain't that great.
So you have to actually pay attention to like what is the character behind it, and I feel like God is constantly like holding me accountable to that. Like, so I remember after dating him, I was like, I think I have a list of like character attributes I want, and I remember going back to this list and being like, I pray that we have the same music taste. I pray that he's like a good steward, like he's integral, honest. I pray that like he is someone who has a good relationship with his mom and his dad. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it just needs to be at least that person's present. And I remember talking to you and being like, wait a minute, I think I got this list I prayed on and I forgot about. It was like, oh snap. So we talk, you're using the word character, which I love. We talk about values. So that's actually like in our deck or whatever. We talk about like, do your values align? Because we think at the end of the core, end all be all, like you said, the beauty, all those things fade, right? But like you talked about, like we both are very family oriented, and we cannot imagine, and our spouses are family oriented. We cannot imagine like being with somebody who did not necessarily, like, it doesn't have to be the best relationship, but that did not value family, that did not value like honesty, things like that. So like at the core, your values have to align. Don't have to be the same, but we have to have the same values because that's what's going to sustain us when we're like.
It is. When times go hard, when times get hard, things get crazy. That's all you have. All you have are the values. Like when my cousin was sick, it was like I had to be in Dallas for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And if my husband wasn't family oriented or wasn't caring, or wasn't compassionate, that would have been a problem. That would have been an issue. And so those are the kind of things we talk about. Like when life gets hard, are your values still on the same path? You know? And so those are really the things that get you through those hard times that could break people apart.
We have a plan in these segues, but just going right to our next question though. So can you tell us what a healthy relationship means to you guys, and how do you feel like, so individually, what is your definition of a healthy relationship? And then how do you think that matches up to your relationship? So DP, why don't you go first?
Okay. So a healthy relationship to me is one that has a foundation of, great values, and one that is built by communication. I think that's every single thing I think about of like, if we hit into this crossroad, it has to be communication. I think one thing for me, I
be picking white people on the podcast. One thing about us, we talk about communication every day.
That's all I care about for real. Give me communication, everything else we can figure it out.
Exactly. So for like the last few months, I've been saying like coined this phrase, like there's power in having a conversation, power in conversation, because what a conversation is going to do is going to tell me what you think, is going to show you what I think, and how do we navigate from there. Because if there's something I don't like, right, and I keep it to myself, you're never going to know. But if I tell you about it and you say you understand it, then my expectation the next time that when it happens, then it's like, okay, maybe I didn't get it right that time, but I could know how to do it differently. Now, if you just do it, then to me, I'm sort of like, oh, you don't care. Because one of my managers, he said this. One of my managers did this, and he said this, where it's like, if you see something that's messed up, it's either you don't know or you don't care. So, for me, with conversation, is like that's our last point. That's our anchor point in what the situation is. So if I said something, or if you said something, I need to go back to that conversation and be like, okay, because you said this, all right, you're right. Maybe I'll do that. But if I hear it, I'm just like, then I don't care. And I feel like when it's not healthy is when we're not communicated. So if you have something against me, or something that you have to do, or even something you feel like you have a right doing, and I'm not even aware of it, you don't even know what I'm thinking about. What if that interrupts something that I plan to do? That's why I feel like if it's unhealthy and I don't know, then it's gonna either harbor resentment, it's gonna facilitate lying, it's gonna facilitate deceit. And it's like, no, let's communicate that way. Everything's out in the open. We may not even like an answer. But if I at least I know where you stand, and at least I hear what you're going from. So at least for us, that's something I really do pride myself on. It's just like, okay, how you feel? I know right now you don't talk about it. Right now, I'm probably too tired to hear. But what is happening? Please tell me what's going on, so at least I can know. That way, when I go into my bubble or my shell, is like, okay, I can think about this. I could think about this. I could know how to go take it from there, rather than assume every single aspect, because that's what my mind going to do. My mind going to assume. My mind going to be like, oh, it could be this, and this. Is like, at least if you tell me, at least I can narrow down to like where my brain is thinking.
I don't have to fill in the gaps by myself.
Exactly.
And I think another thing that I'll say women, because I know a lot of my friends, like when we get married or we get in a relationship, it's like, he should know. I shouldn't have to tell him.
Ooh,
like,
I don't.
When I tell you
that
breaks down.
Let me tell you something.
We are simple creatures.
Let me tell you something.
I tell you that be having us in a chokehold, okay?
We really be thinking they know, and they don't.
He should know. He should know that made me mad.
Nope.
I can't assume that.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And then you tell me, I'm like, it does.
That's it.
Oh, it's common sense. You know what though? I have learned that men don't have such a, I don't want to say men don't have discernment, but they don't have such a heightened gift of discernment, I think, as women. Like we can just see or feel something and not have any physical clues or anything, just know.
Yeah, I mean that's why they call it a woman's intuition.
Oh, okay.
That's what they say it. No, that's it. I mean, it is again discernment. Like from a spiritual sense perspective, it is discernment. But I think that's why they coined the phrase "a woman's intuition."
Like they don't. Yeah,
they don't either.
Yeah.
I cannot.
I think a healthy relationship needs to have, should I define it or
however? It's up to you.
I think in order to be in a healthy relationship or have one, it requires definitely communication, humility, vulnerability, and also what is the word I want to use? Like receptiveness.
Yes.
I think one of the things I'm reading The Bait of Satan right now. Yeah. Good. I think one of the things that plagues relationship is offense and resentment. People don't have conversations about things, and then it builds up, and over time you look up and you're wondering why you're so offended, or you feel a type of way, or you have a conversation with someone and they respond in a type of way, you're like, are you okay? Right? And the whole time they mad at something you did
years ago,
and you didn't tell me, and you didn't even realize, and you was just being on the go. And so I think that but if it's a intimate relationship, like a boyfriend or girlfriend, or if it's just other people, it requires those characters, those values, because you have to be willing to have conversations. There's going to be conflict in relationships. Absolutely. I learned in undergrad that conflicts actually bring people closer together.
Yes.
So if you're in conflict with someone and they show you who they are, you have a choice to either forgive them and grow with them, or it's a sign that like this actually is not going to work. This is not going to work. I always say like people show you who they are when you tell them no. And like I notice sometimes when you tell people no, like your kids be falling out. They be falling out. Kids don't really know though, right?
Can I tell y'all real quick?
No, the person
digress. I told my daughter no yesterday. Come and see the way this girl was. And I was looking at the time. I said, I can't let this go on forever because this is.
Lauren, now she be asking you, you don't love me?
You don't, and she says, you don't love me, mommy? And I said, of course I love you. And it was a teachable moment because I'm like, baby girl, just because I withhold something from you doesn't mean I don't love you. But
that goes for relationships.
And that's relationships too.
Good.
But big girl, I absolutely love you. But that's screaming in the house. Don't mean you get that faster.
Right.
So you gonna go set the timer up for 2 seconds.
Right.
The timer went off. She said, Mommy, I can come out now. I said, yes, babe. I don't have to go back. No, baby. You saw the 2 minutes? But that 10 minutes of you crying and screaming, what gonna get you what you wanted?
Yes.
And
Praise
that's
God.
I'm like, the more you cry, the least likely you are to get it.
Oh, Lord, God be telling us that too.
God do be telling us that.
That's exactly
That's
what
what I said. Teachable. Because it was me too.
Such a teachable
Come
moment.
on now, baby girl. Sorry. I
Okay, you were
No, that healthy relationships require like all of those things because conflict will come, offense will come, and you have to just know how to have communication, vulnerability. You have to know how to sharpen one another.
Absolutely.
So I think that like what's necessary in healthy relationships. And one of the things John Bevere taught me is that how did he say it? He said that your business or your ministry can only go as far as your healing.
True.
And I've even noticed this, like people ask me all the time, like, you're only 28, how are you doing? Da, da, da. First of all, the Lord. And second of all, because I have a gift of like building relationships and getting to know people beyond what they can offer. And a lot of people don't know how to have conversations outside of what can you do for me or what can I do. And so I learned that in LA too, like learning how to genuinely get to know people and then focus on the business and all the other things. And people say in business it does not like that. It can be transactional, but with transaction there has to be trust. Especially when you start dealing with thousands of dollars and assets. Like they wanna. You ever saw The Pursuit of Happiness?
Yes.
Remember he was trying to pitch to the guy. They went to like a football game.
The football game. It was a football game.
Or I don't know if it was a golfing game.
It was football. It was a football game.
And Will kept trying to talk to him about work. He was like, "Hey, I'm trying to enjoy the game right now. It was a baseball game.
Yeah, baseball.
Let's talk about this later." And I think in that time, the guy who was a very like well-known wealthy man was trying to test his character to see how he was with his son at the baseball game. And so little things like that, you'd be surprised why a potential work partner or something may want to just take you out to see how you are. Nothing to do with business, but they're trying to test your character.
We talked about this. How you treat people when you're out.
Oh yeah,
waiters. They want to see what waiters.
How
they
you
want
are.
to see exactly. So that's why they're probably asking you to go to lunch instead of getting coffee. There's a lot of strategy into it. I won't get into it.
That makes sense though, because
but,
we do talk about marriage and dating and engagement here, but in general, relationships in life, like it's the same tool. Like,
it helps so much. This helps with business so
everything.
Yeah. So so how do you think that compares to your relationship, healthy relationship? You both did.
He answered his.
You answered yours. Like Asa, how do you think?
Like for all the things you said, like where would you kind of put yours? Like,
I think we do great at communication. I'm still learning like how to process things faster. It takes me a while to process and articulate things. But I think we do a great job of communicating and also like allowing each other to feel safe and heard, even if we don't agree. And conflict was one of those things. In my upbringing, conflict always meant abandon, like abort mission, run. But here, conflict is teaching me like, no, this is just helping us better understand each other. You don't have to abandon. You don't have. This is not a trauma response that you need to activate right now. So.
Really,
you're so good.
Thank you.
I just appreciate the work. Like it's because it is not easy. And so the fact that you guys are doing all this like groundwork before,
it's going to
so
be
good.
putting you guys light years when you guys get married.
You know, we hear that
It's
too.
the
And we're like, really? Like,
No,
it
it
is.
is.
It
It is.
is.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that because I'm also kind of like, I can't believe people get married not having these conversations.
Right.
We
Every day.
same with us every day.
Like
Every
single
day.
It's been the average wedding. We have a friend who's like a sister and mentor to me. She does weddings. She's a wedding planner. She has her own company.
We have many friends that do.
And she was telling us that the average wedding costs about $50,000. Like, and that's for the minimum.
Yeah, about to say.
And I can't believe people will spend that level of money and not have certain conversations. And that scares me because it's like we're willing to invest for the glitz and glam, but not like do the work behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's important.
I'm telling you.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's important.
It's like building a house on like
Quick.
Come on.
On a rocky foundation, on a snot, on sand. Yeah, like you said. It's
Because after like the wedding, there's still like the whole
There's life.
marriage. There's still life. So even sometimes get like a conversation with dad, like to do like do a little drops of like the wedding and stuff like that, like ooh, this dress and this location, this, and I'm just like yeah. She's like, why are you not excited? I'm just like I'm just like, well, personally, it's not that I'm not excited about it. I just like everything. We can have every single thing in the world.
Yeah.
But then we have tomorrow.
Yes, and that's the truth.
That's what I'm thinking. Like all that, I'm not
most guys
worried.
are. Most guys are thinking about tomorrow. They're not thinking about that. Don't got move boards, nothing like that.
Okay, good.
I'm not worried about tomorrow. Like, oh, what's gonna happen? It's just like, look, there's tomorrow. There's when we're done. There's the house to take care of. There's the family we're gonna foster. There's all those things. It's like already on my mind.
It's important.
Which is kind of which I probably may have add more weight to more than the day up.
Yeah.
I'm having a great time whenever that day.
You should.
I know I will.
You should.
And I think that's always an interesting balance between engaged couples. Because I worked in the wedding industry for a couple of years when I was younger. And oftentimes we would have meetings with the bride and the groom, and it was literally always this conversation. The bride is like, I want everything, and the husband is like, but we got bills
need a house.
Oh, we
need
all
to
want to buy a house, and even us, like my husband, it was like I was the only one that paid for the wedding, and he just paid for the house. So it was like, because I was like, we had all these scenarios, this caused so much conflict after we got engaged, because I'm just like, well, we can just live in an apartment for a year and just do our wedding. And he was like, why would I do that? Like,
makes no sense.
He was so against it. And even his parents, my mom, they were all like, yes, just do the apartment, let's get the wedding out the way. And he was like, y'all can do whatever y'all want to do, but I'm buying this house. And he did. And I was like, well, I'm grateful now. Look at our equity, I'm grateful now. But like looking back, it was tough because I'm like, we need to get this wedding out the way. And it was like, okay, let's buy the house and then push the wedding back. I'm like, I'm not pushing the wedding back. So it's like, we really had to compromise.
Yeah. And I think that and obviously there are anomalies where a guy really does want the wedding and things like that. But most times you do see the guy is looking after the wedding. He's looking about the family and the life that he wants to build. And weddings, it doesn't matter if you do go the cheaper route, because it's still expensive, right? It's still a cost that you're having to sacrifice. But no matter how you swing it, it is one day.
It's one day.
And you are spending, you're spending so much money.
Yeah, I'm about to have a block party at this point. This is too much.
It's high. It is a lot.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
And I wonder too, this is a whole other conversation, but I wonder if so many people are like literally not getting married because of this expectation of the American.
There's an expectation.
Like
we're African.
Yeah, so
baby.
we just went to our first Nigerian wedding.
So
Massive.
It's a production.
It's insane. I had 600 people at my wedding. How many
I had 600 people at my wedding.
It was don't pass out.
Yeah, 600 people.
It was outrageous.
So we know, and the thing is, like, when you get married, I think that just even in the like African American culture, like it's a family affair, right? But it's not even our weddings technically. And we're both firstborns, so it's like a big thing. First daughters. My husband's the only son, so it's like you're the only son. So it's like this. It's this big celebration. So everybody wants to be there. I mean, granted, we got married 10 and 12 years ago, so. Expectations have changed over the years. Now, people are having smaller weddings. You're not hearing anybody.
You can't afford, like you genuinely
cannot afford to have 500 people at your wedding anymore. You can't. People are barely affording 200 people at their wedding, but
Yeah.
still. So it's like right now, like what we see is just like, we know so many people who have got married with us who are no longer married. Because again, of the, like, it's like, yes, we want the wedding, we want the this, so it's, you have the most beautiful wedding, but you're not married because your foundation is not together. Do you know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, if there's anything we leave you with, it really is that intentionality, and it does not matter how old you are.
Yeah.
It can happen day one.
Yeah.
Like I think Asa, you said something. I don't know, girl. This, for those of y'all who know, there's a Nigerian singer called
love
Asa.
her.
So I keep on
Love her.
my mind, Asa. But Asa, you know, there's one thing that you said earlier. You said when I was dating, I would say first couple of dates, what is this leading towards? And I think women are scared to do that. They don't want to do it because they're like, okay, it's going to run him off. Or if I say marriage too early, it's going to run him off. But if somebody's intentional, those type of questions
It's
will
not
scare
going to scare
you.
them.
Yeah.
It's not going to
Those
scare
It
them.
is, I thought it was gonna scare him. I thought all the things that I was saying,
Yeah.
like I had words that I learned were trigger words for certain men. If I now I know that was God's way of kind of protecting me.
Yeah.
But like it ended up being like what is it, like confirmation for him?
Yes.
Because I would say certain words to other men, they would ghost me and then come back around when they get bored, or
Yep.
like they would. And I'm like, oh, so now when he came, I was like, oh, I'm gonna just scare him away, and then he stayed, and I was like,
And it's just crazy what
It
we
worked.
think, like in our minds, what we're trying to do, and God is like, please,
Yeah, like you
this
worry
is-
about the
this is
wrong
for you.
stuff.
You worry about the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
And what confirms is just like, even when we see other people date, we kind of see it like those memes and things like that. It's like, why does it feel like when he went to the next person, everything happened, everything started clicking.
He turned it on. He's just good now. Yes,
It's like, well, whatever work or lack of work you did, it's just like the intentionality kicked in for the next person.
And I've heard people say that before. Like for men, it's not who, it's when. So it's like when a man is married, when a man is ready to get married, he will. And for women, it's like you just kind of, do whatever, how our culture is. We just have to kind of like wait for the right man to, wait for a man that is right for you to be able to pour that energy that into wanting to get married. Because I don't like when people say you just gotta wait to get married, like as a woman. It just feels scary.
It feels like you have to earn it.
That's
what I think it's a gift.
It is
like
a
marriage
gift.
is a gift.
It
Like I
is.
feel like God wants his daughters to be loved, to feel safe, to not always have to be strong and do everything by themselves. Like I feel like the Lord wants us to be in healthy marriages with a healthy home. And there's so many moments that I've had with Daniel Paul that I
just
realized
that you said it's
there's moments that I've had with him that I like should have not done with other guys. Like might have like I got to meet his family on going to Jamaica this week, and like just like little things, and I'm like, oh God, you meant for this to be with like DP. And now I get why God is like, just take your time, because there are a lot of things I think I like prematurely had access to, and it was the wrong person. Crazy story, y'all. We actually ran into my ex at the airport in Jamaica.
That is
Jamaica.
crazy.
In Jamaica on a random Wednesday.
That is crazy.
Insane. Insane. With his new girl.
Okay, hey.
So many layers. Crazy.
Wow.
And so it was one of those moments where I think the Lord was showing us one, there doesn't have to be any awkwardness or weirdness, because he's still a friend. But there's boundaries and things in place. But like he lost both his parents, and so I was that friend that was able to kind of pour life into him. Now he's discovering what his relationship is. He's trying to still navigate what is that relationship with God. Do I want to go to church? Do I not? I remember us being in a relationship and him trying to figure that out, but now seeing him so much more mature. And I have a partner who's like, hey, if you don't want to hear from me, talk to him. This is a man. Y'all can have a man-to-man conversation. And they get to do that. So it was like such a, I would say weird, but like God-filled moment. We're in Montego Bay. We're literally getting on the same flight. We have nowhere to go.
That's crazy.
And we had no choice but to embrace
love that.
and love on each other and kind of disciple at that moment.
I love that.
In spite of what the past was. And so I think God wants us to wait simply to just like grow us and nurture us and mature us. Because I couldn't have thought of that. I was like,
I didn't expect it to end like that. Like the way you said it, I was like, ooh, but then the ended so nicely.
I love
So
that.
it's kind of, that's beautiful actually.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, so we're kicking off a new series called Loving Me, Loving You, Loving Us. And so we have a question. We're going to do Loving Us.
Okay.
And so what has your communication journey been like? So, and you talked a lot about this. And so I know you talked about this, so I'm going to like try to put it in a nice little bow. So how would you define, and you talked about how important it is for you in a healthy relationship, that what would you say your communication style is, or do you feel like it has changed? Do you feel like your communication style has changed since coming together to kind of bring you guys to where you are?
Ooh, okay. So my communication style is sometimes like direct. Like how I speak is just kind of like, this is how it is. This is how it is. Like,
You're right.
I may have no emotion attached to what I said, but then what I said has an emotional response.
Yes.
So it's like,
All the same.
You speak with your eyes and your body language.
I do.
I yes, I would have to agree. I would have to agree.
It is like spoken of every time. Like literally, if something happens, even in church, if something happens in church,
Like the eyebrow right there, we jumped in.
my friend, like if something happens in church, you know things happen in church.
Yeah.
My friends would literally look at me to see
Just
what
see
my
what what you be doing? What are you saying?
and they look at it like, yeah. It's like,
Agreed.
I know he forgot.
Yeah.
and so there's that, and I'm learning how to like be aware of those things. Like,
Yeah.
okay, am I reacting like I don't care? Am I reacting like this throws me off? Am I reacting like you shouldn't have said that? When probably my demeanor is probably like I'm really just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Like even once Asa was telling me something where it's just like something was on my phone, and then he was like, turn your brightness down. And so she was on the side of me, and so I turned my eyes this way, and after she was like, why'd you roll your eyes? I'm like, roll my eyes. My eyes literally went from the right to the left. But then I had to be aware. I was like, okay, communication wise, just like, at least let me say okay.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I got you.
Right.
Because if I didn't, my body language said something totally different to what I reacted.
Yeah, and it leaves those gaps that we
leaves
talked
those
about.
gaps.
Yes.
Or something.
And
Right.
again, that goes back to like my upbringing, growing up in a home where I feel like sometimes the authority wasn't so patient and gentle and kind. I learned to be hyper vigilant. I learned how to read people's body language and determine what they were saying versus what they were doing. So I know how to like pick up if someone's like, yeah, go in the fridge, get some water, and really not want you to go in the fridge. Like I can tell when someone's welcoming and kind, because that's just like something I learned from dealing with trauma and things. Yeah. So going back, that also goes to like his body language is something that I kind of learned to pick up as a child, because growing up in a home where I didn't always feel safe, I learned how to be hyper vigilant, how to like pay attention to what people were saying versus how their body and everything, how their body language would be. And so if you've been brought up in a home that could have been abusive, like physically, emotionally, mentally, then you know how to pick up on cues and body language. And so sometimes someone could be giving you cues that are misleading, in a good way or in a bad way. So you would like roll your eyes or do something, and I would be like, what do you mean by that? Like, do you really mean like
I didn't say it.
Yeah. So I had to learn how to over communicate in certain instances to make sure like I felt safe. And he's a patient person, so he knows. But then I also had to learn that like he's not here to harm me. He's here to help me. And if I ever feel like I'm unsafe, I can communicate that and like just check in and be like, hey, are you okay? So I oftentimes do check-ins like, are you okay right now? Because he'll have a face on at church or something, and I'm like, did someone say something? Did someone do something? And then like he'll be able to, you know. But
Yeah, my focus space is very like, oh, let me just leave you alone. It's like, no,
it's
I'm
intense.
actually fine.
I'm fine. I'm just literally working, and my brain is just thinking on this one thing. So then when someone's like, hey, no, like, but it's like, right. But even that is like, I cannot respond that way to be like, ooh, I'll be like, all right, hold up. I had to communicate it louder. It was like, they're like, are you okay? I'm like,
You also have to learn how
You have to
to
communicate
focused.
louder. I love
I
that.
have to communicate it louder. It's like it's like I'm fine. I'm just a little focused right now.
That's so good.
Can you talk to me within 10 minutes? Okay,
That's
I can
so
talk to you now. Let's
Yeah.
make this brief.
Yeah.
Or even because I have like an anxious attachment style.
Yeah.
So one of those things is picking up body language very easily. So when like Asa mentioned like she processes things slower than me, when I say something and then it's like she just stays still, she's to herself.
Yeah.
I'm thinking she's upset. And I'm like, are you okay? Is everything all right? Like, what did I say? What did I do? And then it's just like, I just need to, like, she's like, I don't know what words to say right now. I may be upset. I may just be fine, but I'm just thinking, I'm processing those things. So even that's exchange.
I'm sure I was like hard. When I said you just said anxious, I said, come on.
I wasn't allowed to like have emotions, and I noticed that like sometimes growing up in like the home I grew up in, multiple homes, but you know, shout out to the family who may see this. I'm not saying y'all would did that, but you know, there's some things I would do differently.
Oh, and that's great.
I love y'all.
That's
Yes, I love y'all because at the end of the day, I was raised well.
Yes,
Like it could have been worse,
Yeah.
way worse. But I think there's also like a level of like I learned how to articulate emotions when I moved to LA. Because that was my first time by myself on my own. College, I was on my own.
Yeah.
But I had to learn how to now articulate emotions and also process them.
Yeah.
So being with him, that's something I had to learn in our relationship, learning how to process and articulate how I feel without the fear of him yelling at me or invalidating
So good.
what I'm saying. So
Because all I want to do is just know.
Yeah.
That's it. Just have a piece of information. So it's like, okay,
It helps you
that's what's
inform your
happening.
decision.
So I can inform a decision. And I think one thing to our communication, this is probably something to say between women and men, is that men, you know, we're conditioned to like keep things to ourselves, things like that. But there's just a world that's within us that sometimes we just want the space to share. You mentioned vulnerability, like to us to be vulnerable. And the honest truth is that vulnerability is messy.
Yeah.
So
And you need somebody safe
to open it. So the minute when it's like the response is, that's what you think, it's like, oh,
Shut right back.
all the guts I just got, let me pull it all the way back
Put it
in.
back in, tuck it back in,
And
and keep
then-
it to myself.
And then the next day it's like, why didn't you tell me anything? And it's like, okay, let me tell you more. And then it's like, the response is this, like,
Tuck
I'll
it
put it
back
back
in.
in. And that gets
Exactly.
exhausting.
That's
I had to learn because I used to be the
Exhausting.
toxic girlfriend. I'll pull up to your job.
Really?
I
You
learned.
don't even look like the type.
God
God is doing the work.
God is doing the work.
Don't
Okay.
leave me hang. Don't leave me hang. Don't leave me hang.
So I had to learn to not respond like that.
Yes.
Because I used to be like, see, I knew it. And
Yeah.
like, just like, and that, like, if you want your man or your partner to be open with you, you have to know how to be vulnerable. So I've learned the art of being like, I don't agree with you, or I'm disappointed at this, but I hear you and I thank you for coming to me. Because now, like, that is our, like, if we were to ever do anything that we didn't tell each other or something like that, we know that we have a safe space to come and be vulnerable and share. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Especially what you said about being vulnerable and how that vulnerability is received. Because as women, we're always like, "Hey, my husband don't say nothing," but it's always like, "Are you?" You know, are you? Yeah, and are you allowing him to say things without the judgment, without the anger, without taking your emotions out of it? I think that's the hardest part for us, is that when he does open up, immediately it's about you, right? Like
that self-pity.
Yeah, like immediately, like anything he can say, like, I don't know, I've just been feeling kind of, I just like my husband could say, I've just been feeling kind of like, I don't know, like just blah. And I'm just like, what am I doing that's making you feel blah? Like, is it me? Like, what can I do more? And it's immediately personalize his emotion.
Come on.
And it may not have anything to do with you. And I think that's where a lot of that, like, anger or a woman lashing out, I feel like that's where it's coming from, because it's coming from, you're listening to center yourself and not just listening to him. So that's why I really love what you said.
Yeah, because like even with that, it's like, what am I doing? It's just like, no, nothing's wrong.
Yeah,
And then the man's reaction as a provider, as protector, is like, okay, now I have to validate and say everything's fine, everything's good. Meanwhile, it's like,
I still got my own stuff
going
on. Okay, now about me. It's about me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a good
That's so real.
Oh, okay, so I'm gonna ask each of you. This is not even a question. It's just like, what would you say? Because again, we want to give like that practical application, right? So as you guys have navigated or are navigating like this dating in your 20s, 30, what would you say has been the key to dating intentional? Yeah.
I would say paying attention to like where you discern and then being prayerful about it. But one other thing is having multiple advisors. Like Proverbs talks about like you're blessed if you have multiple advisors. I don't know if to say it like that. That's the Asa version.
Come on,
You know,
paraphrase,
the
baby.
paraphrase version. Go.
The ASA version.
There you go.
Come on, girl.
And so if you are dating and don't have like a healthy couple you can go to for advice, to like also to just have someone to talk to, like, hey, is this normal or is this a red flag? Is this a red flag or is this something we could work through? That helps so much. Because if you just go into your homegirls who's bitter or mad or in a toxic relationship, you're not going to date healthy. So I think one, like trusting your discernment, because when I look back at other relationships, I'm like, oh my God, there were so many red flags. I should have known. But if I had a mentor, an advisor in those seasons that I was willing to go to, even when I knew I wasn't when I was cut up, then I would have been like, I would have saved so much. So I would say, like, find the mentor, whether at your church, I don't know where. They have to have fruit in their home, in their marriage, in their work. Check for the fruit before you ask them to be your mentor, and actually go to them when you have an idea or you discern something.
That's good.
That helps with dating.
Or the book of ASA. Come on now.
Sorry, you repeat the question.
So the question was, now you're making me forget the question. How would you wrap up and give the takeaway as far as how you've been able to date intentionally?
How to take away from how to date.
No, just what was your one takeaway? You shared a whole bunch of stuff. What would be the gem that you're leaving the viewers with?
If you were to date intent, I think know what you want and then consult with God about it. Know what you want to consult with God about it, because I think the moment I think everyone knows what they want, and then we consult with God about it, then it's like, okay, look at this alternative, look at this way. Like, and because guess what? God knows more of what you want and what would fill you up. So I think once you leave it in His hands, He'll kind of like reveal it in time. But that doesn't mean not to do the work. The patience is active, it's not passive. So I think that's what it is. Be actively patient, and then you notice things, consult with God about it. That is where that intentionality comes. Because if you just go with the flow with it, you're gonna run into something where you knew you did not like, but because you were so standing on going with the flow that you're stuck in the situation. Because then it's gonna be like, well, why did we waste our time when you knew about this from before? So know what you want, consult with God.
Thank you.
So good. This has been a wonderful conversation. We are so blessed to have DP and Asa just share their story, and we're hoping it resonates with somebody. If it's only one person, we've done our job. Again, we want to thank you. We're going to link all of their contact information, where you can get shirts from, where you can follow and find out more about what they have going on in our description section. Again, we're going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Leave some comments, tell us what you loved about the episode. And we're going to ask that you continue to lock in. This is another aspect of our dating in ... series. And they've answered one question about our Loving You, Loving Me series, Loving Us series. And we want to thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. Thank you guys so much for coming.
This has been another episode of Chats from the Peak.
Woo!